After spending the day with the Acura NSX, I had a lot of fun, but no car is perfect, so here are some of the things I hate about the 2017 Acura NSX. First up, the design process and the thought process behind this car is almost a bit of a joke. Originally, the concept came out in 2007 for a new NSX. The first one was introduced in the United States in 1991. They hadn't built one for a while. They thought, you know what, we had a great success with that car, let's build a new one. Well, in 2007, they came out with a front-engined V10 NSX. Seems like a cool idea. Well, they decided to scrap that. A couple years later, they decided, hey, let's put a horizontally mounted 6-cylinder in it. Well, they decided to scrap that yet again, and then we have this, which is a 3-electric motor, twin-turbo, 3.5-liter V6 hybrid cluster F of a car that really was never meant to be like this. Now, it came together pretty well. I'm very surprised how well the electric motors and the gasoline engine work together in harmony. But for a car that was changed so many times and had to be redesigned constantly, one, it came out 10 years after the concept. 2, it took so long, it feels kind of behind the times at this point, and it's lost a lot of the specialness of revealing a new vehicle. And 3, it just doesn't feel anything like what you think of when you think of an NSX. This isn't a raw, light, naturally aspirated, fun-to-drive car. It's a heavy, incredibly complex powertrain, but it's a fun-to-drive car, I will give it that. The steering's phenomenal. Second up, in terms of practicality, that's what the NSX is about. When it was originally created, the NSX was the practical, reliable supercar that you could drive every day. Well, not so much with this one, because it has the smallest trunk I've ever seen in any supercar. Compared to something like the 570S GT, which is pioneering the way for comfortable supercars with plenty of space in the back, this is an absolute joke. But even compared to an Audi R8 that has all-wheel drive and doesn't really have much for storage, this still has almost nothing. In the front, you've got all the electronic components, so there's no trunk. In the back, by the engine, you've got the smallest trunk I have ever seen. It basically can fit 1 gallon of milk and your coat. That's about it. So, for a car that's supposed to be usable every day, it really isn't. There's not even a parcel shelf behind the seats that typically is found on supercars that are 2-seaters and aren't convertibles. The convertibles, they've got to add some extra stuff for especially hardtop convertibles, but pretty disappointed in the space. Third up, the sound. A twin-turbocharged V6 is a little bit of a boring powertrain for a $180,000 car. With markup, it can be over $200,000. I'll let you guys decide, but honestly, I'm not impressed with the way it sounds. To me, it sounds very similar to the Lexus RC350 with a 6-cylinder. And that is not a compliment whatsoever. It's nice on a lower-end sub-$50,000 car, but for a supercar, not so much, especially when this is the same price as an Audi R8 V10. That sounds, well, a hell of a lot better. And as you spec this one up higher and higher, it starts competing with the 570S and LP580 and used Huracans and 650Ss. It just makes a worse case for itself. While sound is debatable, this one, not good. Just misses the mark. Kind of annoys me, actually. Good news is you can put it in electric mode and shut that up, but for a supercar, come on, you gotta have an awesome noise. The interior quality is terrible. Not only is the design kind of confusing and, well, it's about as confusing as this entire car is. There's also some very low quality plastics, and just the design language in general is a bit lame. For instance, the turn signal. The turning indicator feels like it's out of a $15,000 car. So do the switches for the air conditioning unit. That actually looks like it was taken straight out of a Kia Soul or something of that nature. I'm like pretty shocked that it looks that way. It looks like they've copied stuff from other manufacturers. There's some Lexus over by the glove compartment. There's some Chevy in the center here. The seats, I don't really like the way they look. The infotainment's very hard to use. Overall, it just feels like a poorly put together interior. I will say, the visibility is fantastic. You can see out almost better than any supercar, so in that regard it's great, but it feels tight and cramped in here with the center console that passes all the way through and it's high. You feel like you're in a tight enclosed cockpit, and it's just not the best feeling. Lastly, it's just too expensive. If they were able to bring this down closer to the 110 to 130 range, I think they would have sold tons of them. It is a good looking car. It handles very, very well, but when you're getting up into the $180,000 to $200,000 range, the market is so competitive nowadays, it really leaves no room for the NSX. You have to really go out on a total random tangent and go, fuck it. Let's just get an NSX for absolutely no reason. It's weird, it's different than all the other cars, but it's not better than any of them. In fact, I'd almost put it towards the bottom. I'd rather have a 911 Turbo S than this. It's got much more space, it's more daily drivable, and it's faster. I'd rather have a new Audi R8 V10 than this. I'd rather have a 570S, an LP 580. There's a lot of cars I'd rather have than this. But if they dropped it down closer to the price of a GTR, this is way cooler than a GTR. In fact, it actually feels slightly similar with the styling in the inside and just the overall kind of space age gizmos and gadgets and electronics. It gives me a GTR vibe, but of course it looks a lot cooler on the outside. It's lighter and it's faster, in stock form that is. Well, there you have it. I like the NSX, but it is absolutely not without its flaws. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.